What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Bit of a different one this time. I've done the video like this a few times over the past few years, but not one that includes NBA. So for all of you, which is probably like 95% of you, if not 98%, that I guess don't care about NBA right now, I'll put in the description where you can skip to if you just want the NFL portion of this. It's going to be super quick for NBA, but I kind of wanted to go over this portion because it'll help you contextualize what my model does for NFL. I didn't want to show the NFL model because there's like 120 or 40, I don't even know how many. There's a boatload of columns, not nearly as many for NBA, so I thought it'd be easy for you guys to think about. And also, NBA is fun, and I looked at the model results for today. You can always just look at the model results for NFL and NBA on the website. It's free, at least for the time being, so you can check that out every day. But there are 3 games that I would definitely look at if you wanted to do any sort of betting. First one we're going to talk about is Cleveland and Memphis. So I typically like to take a side when the model predicts it differently by a good amount, and you can see right here. So these 2 columns, my spread, my total, are what my model think, and then you've got Vegas spread, Vegas total on the left here. So for a lot of these games, like total for Toronto and Washington, my model has it as 0.4 different from Vegas. I would never take over under that circumstance. It's so close, unless there's some sort of reason that I just want to take the over because of something that I think. I would never look at the model and do that. And even like a 6 and a 4 for the spread, I mean, it's not that different. Definitely for NFL, you can get some like 3 and 7 are key numbers, but when the spread's not that far different, I don't really pay attention. But a few that are, so Memphis and Cleveland. Right off the bat, I mean, we know that Cleveland is not good, right? We know they're a really bad basketball team. So Vegas right now has Memphis by 1, which, I mean, the game can't end in a tie. So the 1's just giving you that scenario where it's like a 1-point difference. It's essentially just a pick 'em at this point. So pretty much a pick 'em. My model has it as over 6. So that right there is a flag to me. And so why'd the model pick that? So first column is probably one of the more important columns, is how good are they in their effective field goal percentage. That's basically taking into account how efficient you are at 3-pointers and how efficient you are at 2s, because if you're an extremely efficient 3-point shooting team, you're going to have a very high effective field goal percentage because 3s are more valuable than 2s. And we see Cleveland, which is going to be the bottom team, so the 0.57 is Memphis. Cleveland's the 0.55. Cleveland is not good in their offensive effective field goal percentage. We've got turnover rate. Cleveland has one of the highest, if not the highest, possible turnover rates. So they're not good in that area either. They beat Memphis in offensive rebounding percentage. We know Kevin Love, we know Tristan Thompson are really good at getting offensive rebounds, but that's basically the only area that they win. They lose in free throw rate, effective field goal percentage allowed. So Cleveland has a terrible defense. Memphis is going to get open shots. They're going to be efficient. Not that Memphis has that great of a defense either, but Cleveland is just awful. So Memphis can do whatever they want on offense, and they're the more efficient offensive team. Turnover rate forced. So Memphis is much better than Cleveland at forcing turnovers. So basically, everything that you look at, pace doesn't really matter for doing this. Everything that you look at is saying take Memphis. You've got the spread, essentially. I need to update this. Don't look at this column. This column was calculated wrong. But everything else is fine. But if you look at the spread, I mean, Cleveland is on average losing by like 15 points. Like the 15 points they're losing by. Memphis hasn't been good, but it's only 3. So I don't see anything. Maybe if Cleveland was winning in like one area, you could say, oh, maybe Cleveland will win this game. But at a 1-point spread, I don't see it. So I'd definitely be taking Memphis -1 there. And then Indiana-Sacramento is another game that I would look at. It's not a huge difference. My model has it at -7.66 for Indiana, and then it's actually at -5. I want to say TJ Warren and Lamb are questionable. Maybe that's why it hasn't been pushed up a little bit more than that. But again, if you go over all of these things, Indiana is just better. I'm not going to scroll through everything, but they're just the more efficient team on offense. They're the much more efficient team on defense. So yeah, effective field goal percentage allowed 0.54. So Indiana has an incredible defense, and it's not like Sacramento is all that great on offense. Plus, Indiana's at home, and so whenever you want to take, lay the points, it's always nice when the team is at home because teams typically play better at home. So I don't understand why that one is so close. And then the last one is Boston and Detroit. The model actually doesn't think it should be as big as it is. And Gordon Hayward, I believe, is expected to miss this game. But I wouldn't do the points here. I would just take money line. If you can get the money line in like a reasonable amount, then I would take it because there's no way Boston loses this game at home. I don't think Drummond is gonna play. Check my phone here. I'm pretty sure I got that. Blake is out, so maybe Drummond's gonna play. But Blake is out. Luke Kennard is out, and they don't have scorers besides, I guess, Derrick Rose could have a nice game. Bruce Brown could have a nice game, and Drummond could have a nice game, but they're not going to be able to keep pace with Boston. I know I'm biased because you all know I'm a Boston fan, but there's no way. So those are three that I would choose for today. And now to the section that everyone's actually here for is NFL. And like I said, I don't want to go through. Oh, okay. So I'll briefly talk about what goes into these lines. Like how does Vegas get to -2 for Houston? One big thing, Vegas does have people who they're called like super forecasters or something, and they'll literally say they'll look at a spread and they just use their intuition to make the spread. And that's what some sports books use. But in general, you've got very few. I think Pinnacle's the biggest one. Very few that actually set the lines themselves, and then all these other sports books just look at that and then just adjust for money. So if you've got a team like Dallas in New England that have a lot of people that like to place bets for them, so a lot of people like to take New England -7. And so if a ton of people are piling on money on New England -7, the line's going to move to 7.5 and to 8 because the sportsbook just wants to split. It just wants even money on both sides. So even though it might not necessarily be the correct choice to push the line that much, they just want even money. But the original line is set on things that I do. So on knowing all of these features, they collect data, years and years and years worth of data, and what's the result? So what my model does is it looks at all these different categories, and it says, okay, given that all these things happened, what ended up happening in the game? Oh, New England won by 6. Okay. And it goes through thousands and thousands of games, and it creates a model so that you can just say, okay, here's the scenario this week. What do you think? And so that's what I post on the website. Like these are, what's this? This is NFL. These are the exact predictions for spread, for total, for each game, who's going to win. And then I do the same exact thing. You should probably read what the model is. I do the same exact thing for NBA. So that's essentially how the lines are made. But then obviously there's more thought that goes into it. Like, let's say Houston -2 right now. I took Houston -2 because Mike Evans is out. I believe Scotty Miller is out. We know that Chris Godwin is out. And even though Jameis Winston is still probably going to have a fine game, still probably going to throw over 300 yards, he's going to sling the ball around. It's going to be so much less efficient, so many more chances for turnovers. And even at home, I don't see Tampa Bay winning this game. But then the line gets pushed to 3, so now you have a field goal. So if you're betting right now and you take -3 for Houston, if they only win by a field goal, which is certainly possible, then it's a push. So 3 is like a key number, 7's a key number, I think 6 is even a key number. But I liked getting it in there at -2 because I think Houston wins this game. Buffalo and New England. I mean, I basically take New England every single week because I'm a New England fan. My model actually thinks this game's going to be real low scoring. I took the under at 37.5. Could be brutal out there. But also, I don't think in New England, Josh Allen, I mean, they're going to blitz him like every play. They're going to keep him in the pocket for sure. They're not going to let him win. And they're basically going to say, all right, keep you in the pocket, make you throw the football. I expect them to try and stop the run. Can you beat us? And if John Brown's getting locked down by Stephon Gilmore, do we really think that Cole Beasley and whoever they have out there at wide receiver 3, they kind of rotate through a bunch of different people. They've got McKenzie. I think Robert Foster's healthy right now, but they rotate through a few different guys. It's basically, can those players beat the Patriots secondary? I don't think they can. I think they win by more than 6, so I took that side. This is a really interesting game. So this is the Saturday night game. Rams and the 49ers. I don't really know what to do with the line at -6.5. I took Rams plus 6.5, hoping it goes to +7, so I can just take that. Basically, it depends on which type of Jared Goff shows up. I mean, we've seen Jared Goff look absolutely terrible at times and look really good at times. And if the 49ers at home can get us to bad Jared Goff, then this could get really ugly. And the 49ers could win this game by 25 points. Like, that wouldn't shock me at all. I just think the Rams have a really underrated defense. I think they're really good on defense. So I could see this being a lower scoring game. That's why I took the under at 45. But again, I mean, I took San Fran winning and plus 6.5 to kind of hedge there. But I don't really know what to make of that game because it all depends on Jared Goff, and he's been very inconsistent. Giants and Washington, another game that, I mean, I don't know a whole, like 2.5 points. Yeah, both these teams are pretty even. They're both terrible. Like, it's pretty tough to bet on bad teams because, like I've said with other teams, there's so much variance. Like, we have no idea if Haskins would have shocked anyone if Haskins had a good game against the Giants. Like, no, right? Because the Giants aren't a very good defense. But it would have shocked anyone if Haskins goes out there and he throws like 3 picks and 2 of them for touchdowns. No, like, it wouldn't shock anyone. So when it's this close and I don't really know which team's going to win, I would rather just take the team that's getting the points. That's why I took Giants plus 2.5 and Giants money line because I don't think either team's good. So I'll take the team that is the underdog. Pretty much the exact same scenario with Miami and Cincinnati. I think both of these teams are equally bad, both really bad on defense, both can put together drives on offense. But at the end of the day, I don't have a take on which one will win, so just take the one that is the underdog. It's pretty much a winning strategy when you do that. When you're like, I don't really know which team's going to win, who's the underdog? Pick them. Because if you don't know, it's probably roughly 50-50, and you're getting better odds with picking the underdog. This one is interesting. So Tennessee at home against New Orleans. And I said in one of my videos earlier this week, I don't remember which one it was, would anyone have believed me if I said in like August that we're in week 16 and Tennessee is only 2.5 point underdogs against New Orleans, and I said Kamara's healthy, Michael Thomas is healthy, Drew Brees is healthy, Jared Cook is healthy, like everyone's healthy, they're only 2.5 point favorites. Talking about New Orleans there, no one would believe me. And then I said also Mariota's not the quarterback. Like no one would have believed that. But that's where we are. And if I look at my model this week, we see Tennessee projected 1.8 point favorites. My model thinks that Tennessee wins this game outright. Now, that could definitely be wrong because Drew Brees is amazing and Michael Thomas is amazing and the New Orleans defense is pretty good. But if Derrick Henry's good to go, we know how good Derrick Henry has been when we get into November and we get into December, and he's been rolling recently. They're giving him like all week off to prepare for just getting healthy, basically. We know he has the lingering hamstring injury, but it seems to not be an issue since they've been giving him basically all of the weeks off. So I can see Tennessee winning this game. I really wanted to switch to 3 because I want that field goal as just like insurance. But at home, with Tannehill rolling, with this offense doing really well, with the Tennessee's defense is really good as well, and Drew Brees, I will say he's still elite, but he doesn't play as well when he is in an outdoor environment. So traveling to Tennessee, we could see Tennessee win this game. So I'm not shocked that the line is where it is. The Jets in Pittsburgh, this will be a fun game just because Le'Veon Bell gets to travel, or I guess to stay home, but gets to take on his home team. I have it at 5 units right now. I wouldn't say I'm that confident, but I don't think Pittsburgh is any good. Their quarterback situation is not good. Their defense is basically winning them games at this point. I think James Conner is getting healthier though, so not a good matchup for him because on the road, pretty low total against the Jets defense that's pretty good at stopping the run. But this is another game where I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Jets win. They've put together some really good games lately on offense, and if they can get Crowder and Robbie Anderson going, and we all know they're going to try and get Le'Veon Bell going, I think they can lose this game by 3. And that's all you need when the spread is 3.5. Cleveland and Baltimore, honestly, I don't feel great about the pick here of Baltimore plus 10. I know that like typically whenever a team is more than 10 points underdogs at home, I am always going to take the points. I mean, that is a winning strategy long term. If you've got a team that's like a 10 or a 13 point underdog at home, especially when they've already beaten that team earlier in the year, you take the points every time. This time, I don't know. Baltimore is so much more improved on defense at this point in the season than they were earlier in the season. And honestly, the Browns look like they've given up. So like my model can't know that. It can't know that like people on the Browns are just want out. I mean, Jarvis Landry was yelling at the other sideline saying like, save me from this team. Like my model doesn't know that. And so the Browns seem to have given up. They're getting decimated on the ground, and Baltimore is pretty darn good at running the ball. So I honestly might change this. Yeah. I think I'm going to change it to the Baltimore side. What does the model have? I don't know off the top of my head, obviously. As it a 4? Yeah. I think all things considered, if you looked at this without understanding where we are in the season, then maybe you could put it at 4. Not that Baltimore... Does Baltimore even need to win anymore? I feel like they've locked everything up. But, I don't know. Cleveland's just collapsing at this point. And I don't see them moving the ball very much on offense. So, yeah. I don't feel good about Browns plus 10. So I would even take Baltimore at that point. Carolina and the Colts. So... I don't have a take on this game. I don't even want to watch this game. Like this feels like, I guess you could watch for McCaffrey going off, but he's like the whole offense. DJ Moore's been pretty good. I believe Greg Olsen is expected to return this week. Even though if you take Greg Olsen out and you put in Ian Thomas, it really doesn't change the offense all that much. I took the points because I don't think the Colts are all that good. And not that I think both of these teams are pretty bad, to be honest, but I don't think the Colts are 6.5 points better, even at home, than Carolina. But would it shock me if the Colts won by 10? Not at all. So I might even move this down to 1 unit because I I don't really have a take on who's going to win that game. This one's pretty meh too. I took 7.5 because that's a really good line. Like Atlanta can still win by 7. They can still win by a touchdown, and you still cover at that point. Plus, like Jacksonville, they're pretty bad on defense. Atlanta's at home. Atlanta's expected to score probably like 30 points. But Jacksonville's not like that bad. And Chark might return this week. I don't really know why he would because they're like out of it and stuff. But I don't think Jacksonville is 7.5 points worse than Atlanta. Like we need to remember, even though Atlanta won last week, they're still not good. Like Atlanta's not a good football team, and they're missing some pieces on offense as well. And we all know their defense isn't all that great. So I don't think 7.5 should be the line there. I wouldn't be shocked at all if Jacksonville won that game outright. Oakland and the Chargers. So this one, I took the 7 because of the touchdown again. Pretty much the next 3, I took the points because I don't feel that the team getting the points is that much worse than the home team. Although home is typically worth about 3 points. But the Chargers, they've won some big games recently, but let's be honest. The only reason the Chargers are favored by 7 is because the Oakland defense is absolutely dreadful. They just lost to the Jaguars at home in their last home game, but I think people are overrating how good the Chargers are. Like, Rivers is still pretty bad, and even though Oakland has a really bad defense, do we really think that Rivers is like I think Rivers is a good streaming option in fantasy this week. I think he can throw for close to 300 yards, maybe get multiple scores, but he's not the type of quarterback to just go out there and just completely tear apart a bad defense. Like I don't think he's all that good. I don't think this team is all that good. So giving me a touchdown with Oakland, I'll take it. The Detroit game, I guess kind of a similar situation, like giving Denver 6.5 points. I know they won the big game against Houston, and traveling to Denver is really tough, but they're not that good either. Like they can't run the football. They're not that good at passing the football outside of Cortland Sutton. They have basically no one. Like Noah Fant is fine, but I mean, I don't think they're all that great, so I don't think they should be getting 6.5 points. I think they win the game, but 6.5 is a lot, especially it's a low total game. It's 37.5 point total. So with not that many points, the spread shouldn't be as big as it is. I do think Seattle is better than Arizona. I'm not ever going to say that, especially at home. So, I mean, I think Seattle wins, but at negative 400, at 9.5 point favorites, you only have Carson at this point. Lockett has been fine. Wilson has been incredible, like because he's Russell Wilson. I don't expect Arizona to slow him at all. But Arizona has not been bad offensively, and Seattle does not have that great of a defense. So can Arizona win or at least keep the game within 9? I think absolutely. So I would take that side. I do think I keep taking the points with everything. But if you combine the injury to Dak Prescott with the fact that the Cowboys play so much worse on the road, I mean, I think Philly wins this game outright. It's a very important game, and you would kind of look to the coaching staff for games like this, and obviously Philly has an edge in the coaching staff. We know Miles Sanders has been really good as of late. We know that Ertz and Goddard are like finally healthy now. They don't have any wide receivers, but listen, Amari's not good on the road. The Cowboys have not been that great this season. They have like one decent win. Zeke hasn't been as exceptional this season. So I just think traveling on the road with the injury to Dak Prescott, I expect the Eagles to blitz a ton in this one, and I think their defense can shut down Dallas's offense. So I would take Philly +3 there. Chicago and Kansas City. I don't love my pick for this one. So Mahomes, it doesn't matter. Like, he's not a home. I mean, I guess he has the home splits because they always play so exceptional at home, but he's not a quarterback where he's gone on the road. I'm fearing for his production, right? Like, he's still going to be incredible. He's still got Tyreek Hill. He's still got Travis Kelce, and Chicago hasn't been as great as recent years on defense. So I definitely think Kansas City can go into Chicago and win this game. Kansas City doesn't have that great of a defense, and there's a chance that Trubisky takes advantage. But thinking about everything, definitely think I'm going to change this one because, I mean, if you think about it, and I would obviously change this as well. So like I said, Patrick Mahomes going on the road, definitely not something that you fear. And although Kansas City definitely has a much better defense when they play at home, their defense has been a lot better just in general as of late. And we know that Trubisky has been a very high variance quarterback, but he's been hitting on the low side of that variance recently, this year really, just playing so poorly. And so the way they win this game, or the way they cover the +6, is basically Allen Robinson has a really big game. And I got to think that Kansas City is like, okay, we're going to take away Allen Robinson. You can try to run the ball with Montgomery, but you haven't been successful in basically any games outside of just a few big plays this season. Anthony Miller's been stepping it up recently, but do we really think the Bears can win this game with Trubisky to Anthony Miller going up against Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and whoever they have at running back? Probably not. Probably not. So I think I would take Kansas City -6 there. And then the last game, I switched this one before making this video. Minnesota is likely, nothing's been confirmed, likely going to be out Dalvin Cook, out Alexander Mattison. That's great for us who picked up Mike Boone in fantasy, but can't imagine that just using Mike Boone, and I do think Mike Boone is underrated. I think he's a good running back. But just using Mike Boone, do we really think they're going to be doing great on the ground? Probably not. And so at home, I definitely think they can limit Aaron Rodgers on offense. I think they can limit Aaron Jones. But 5.5 points, I mean, like, the Packers are really good this year. They've been really good. And I know that Adam Thielen is healthy and Stephon Diggs is healthy, but it's a really big hit having to rely on Mike Boone and like Amir Abdullah. Is he even on the team anymore? I don't even know, but basically just Mike Boone. Having to rely on just him on the ground when you used to be able to rotate in Dalvin Cook and Madison and Boone, like, I think that's a big hit, and I think it might make them a bit one-dimensional. And so I think they can win the game by 1 to 3 to 4 points. But you're giving Aaron Rodgers, who has not been that great this season, but you're giving Aaron Rodgers 5.5 points in a pretty important game. I mean, if they lose, like, it's gonna affect it's not gonna affect them getting into the playoffs. They're gonna get into the playoffs, but it'll affect if they can get home field. And we know the Packers play a lot better at home, especially in the playoffs. Like when it gets really cold in Lambeau, they play really well. So they want to have a really high seed and to be able to play as many home playoff games as possible. And so this is a big game for them. So I think Rodgers shows up. I don't think anyone can slow Devonta Adams. And I think that running game with the combination of Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones is really good. And so if you're going to say not only do they just have to win they can lose by 5 and you still get this win, I'm cool with that. So that is NBA, that is NFL for the weekend and for Friday. You can post your start sit questions in the comment section, but realistically, like I've said, each of the past 2 weeks, the rankings are free on the website. So instead of saying, would you rather start this guy or this guy, you can just go to thefantasyfootballadvice.com and there's your answer. So that's the end of this one. I hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting that like button? And if you're new here, how about subscribing to the channel? But thanks for watching.